Hey guys, it's me, Topher. Welcome to the World of Filara, my weird little corner of the universe where imagination becomes creation. So, a part of the manifestation series, you guys, we're going to take a little bit of a deeper dive into the subconscious today. I think that it's really important for us to understand the inner workings and the deeper mechanisms of manifestation before we just go in and start trying to manifest our perfect this, that, and everything else. This is going to give us the answers to how it works, why it's working, and why sometimes you're getting what you don't want as well, or not getting the thing at all, right? I feel like if you can give yourself those answers later on when you get down the line and you're asking where is it, when is it, why isn't it here yet, you're already going to have your answers instead of doing it the other way around. So I want to talk about the serious stuff before we get into the fun stuff, let's call it. Me personally, I find it all fun, okay? But that's just me. So hopefully you guys being here, I can help make it fun for you too as well. So, deeper dive into the subconscious. So, as discussed in a previous video, you guys, if you haven't seen it, I'm going to put it down below in the description box and I will link it up in the top corner as well, okay? But the subconscious is effectively what is running most of our manifestation experience, okay? It's running in the background, it's our deeper level of operating system. It's almost impossible for us to be able to access it from a conscious state. We need to be able to go deeper and work with it, which is things like meditation, therapy, hypnosis, all different kinds of things, you guys. Just briefly, what is the subconscious? The subconscious is the part of us that is trying to keep us safe. It's trying to do what we came here to do, which is preserve our life for as long as possible. So it is always trying to keep us safe. It's trying to keep us out of danger and aware. The only problem is the awareness that it's trying to have is an awareness that was developed hundreds of thousands of years ago, as we are predators and we have predators after us, and when we are in a primitive state, it's a primitive survival mechanism trying to operate in a no longer primitive society. And this is where the kind of dissonance is for us nowadays, because although the subconscious is always going to be there, we just haven't quite reached the point yet where we're figuring out how it's going to work for us in today's age with the 21st century and technology and communication and language and media and social and all of these different kinds of things. It doesn't know how to operate because it took hundreds of thousands of years to program it into us. It's going to take us a lot of time to get it out of there, okay? Okay? So the point of this and the point of me here teaching you is to kind of give you guys a bit of a head start so that you don't have to wait for hopefully 100,000 years before you can wake up properly, let's call it, right? Okay, so how does the subconscious work? Now, again, we went over it previously a little bit in the previous video, but basically, fundamentally, the subconscious is a computer system. That's sort of the best way I can put it. It's an information system, let's put it that way. It holds information in there. Now, when things happen in your life, usually either something that happens suddenly or something that is repetitive, daily, on a constant basis, the subconscious is going to take in that information as much as possible. And what it's going to learn is that whatever the information is, that specific event or the one happening recurrently, is important. It must be important because it's affecting you so much. If you have an instance where, and I'm not going to talk about positive, negative just yet, okay? Let's just say an event happens at any point in your life, really, that is emotionally arousing. Right? And what I want to say is not just arousing in the sense of it's raising your emotions or it's causing you to have emotions. It's emotionally almost slightly distressing. Even if you have something good happen to you, let's say somebody had their greatest dreams come true. Usually one of the first things that people are going to do is cry, because they don't know how to process the emotion is so overwhelming. It doesn't have to be in a negative sense, which is why I don't want to really talk about that right now. I just want to focus on the fact that whatever the overwhelming emotional response is, the subconscious is going to say, that's something we have to pay attention to. As the subconscious learns that this is an important piece of information or an important situation, it will then develop essentially what we would call a coping mechanism, right? So I'm either going to fight, flight, or freeze, or in some cases I would say funny as well. That is something we've socially developed over however, I don't know scientifically how many years, but it seems to be something we've socially developed, is the ability to be able to use comedy to diffuse a situation. So you've got fight, which is to react and try to defend yourself. You've got flight, which is to just turn and run and shrink away from the situation. You've got freeze, which is just, I am just going to stand here, take it, I don't know what to do. I'm not going to defend myself, nor can I run away. I'm just going to take whatever crap is coming at me. Or there's funny, which I feel like in social situations is that's a lot of people nowadays, where let me just try and diffuse the situation by either humiliating some aspect of myself or some aspect of the atmosphere around and draw attention away from whatever the conflict, let's call it, was in the first place. So your subconscious is receiving the information, is then developing a coping mechanism based on whatever it thinks it needs to do in that situation. And then what happens is it creates what we would call a default. Let's call it a default. Yeah, it's a default programming. So not just in certain situations will you default to fight, flight, freeze, or funny, but some of us, most of us, because we are waking up, we're going to talk about this as well, but because we're waking up immediately in a state of stress, anxiety, worry, because we're thinking about everything we've got to do today, next week, next year, etc., our subconscious cannot differentiate between that not being a saber-toothed tiger with its teeth around our neck, right? It cannot differentiate that that's not a predator. It just knows something is wrong. It's going to act as if that predator is still there, but the predator itself is just the thought of you having to do something today, right? It's not a monster with its teeth around your neck. It's just a thought. But your subconscious doesn't know that, right? So what it's going to do is it's immediately going to default into one of those coping mechanisms, either fight, flight, freeze, or funny. So the default system is usually triggered for most of us from the moment that we wake up, right? Like I said, the moment that you wake up, you immediately think, oh, I have to do this and this today. Let me just think about everything that's gone wrong. Let me think about yesterday carrying over into today. Let me continue the negative spiral of thinking the worst outcomes of situations, etc. And so within the first 30 seconds or 60 seconds of your day, all of the stress chemicals are released. You've possibly got a whole bunch of adrenaline going on in there. And what most of us don't realize is this is our daily pattern. It's our daily default to just have the subconscious releasing all of the stress chemicals as if a predator was after us. So where do we need to look? And most of us are going to need to look at our childhood. Right? Even if we have the most loving, caring, wonderful, abundant, prosperous, educational, nourishing, nurturing parents. Let's say we had the most perfect parents we ever could have had in all of eternity. That doesn't mean you're still not affected by the rest of the world. If you are like me and you were born in the 90s, right? And I didn't even have the internet until 2014, right? I had the internet around me and stuff or whatever, but I never personally had it until 2014. But that doesn't matter. Still, in the back of my brain, it's being programmed into my subconscious that be a certain way, act a certain way, look a certain way, and this is what makes you acceptable. So it doesn't even matter if you have the most nourishing parents in the world. You're going to go out there into the big wide world. It's still going to happen. You're still going to be affected by it. You are still going to be programmed with the belief systems that most of us have today, which is that we're not enough. Good enough, rich enough, skinny enough, round enough, strong enough, pretty enough, handsome enough, healthy enough, happy enough, lovable enough. Never enough. We're all just growing up like we're just not. Never enough. Never enough, right? So most of us are going to want to go back and look at our childhood, okay? Try and identify what taught you certain things. Now, it's not going to be easy with those bigger things, like I'm not pretty enough and I'm not skinny enough, I'm not this and that, because a lot of that does come from, for most of us, the wider social society. Now, there are some of us, myself included, who grew up with that right directly in their own parental-child relationship, but hopefully most people will just get it from things like the internet and media and, you know, just magazines and the glam life and all of that kind of thing and stuff, right? So you want to be able to, those ones are really obvious. You want to be able to go back into your childhood here and really specifically hone down on the ones that you were taught. Like, for example, I was taught that I was too much. I talk too much, I talk too fast, I either talk too loud or I wasn't noisy with my body. I was always just noisy with my voice. That was what I was taught. And I can see now where I've grown up, and I have to be careful, not just with myself, of understanding, no, I don't talk too much, no, I don't talk too fast, and no, I don't talk too loud. I may do that for some people, but out of the 8 billion people on the planet, it's not true that all 8 billion are going to find me too much or too loud or too talkative. But I also had to watch it when it comes, I have to watch it when it comes to other people as well. For example, noise. There is a part of me that ever so slightly in my senses gets triggered a tiny little bit when somebody thuds past me, because I live in an apartment. I have people above me, and I have the stairs right down here along the side of my bedroom. So if somebody upstairs comes down the stairs really heavily, I can hear it, and I have to be so careful that I don't get triggered into this negative thing of, oh, why can't you just walk slower? Because that's not me. That was what I was taught, is that you aren't allowed to make a lot of noise with your body, or you should walk lighter or step lighter. That's what I was taught. We were always told as kids, not me personally, because I'm lighter than the rest of my family, but the rest of my family are quite heavy, or at least they're definitely heavy-footed. And I had me and my cousins were always told all of the time, you sound like an elephant running down the stairs. Can you walk properly? Can you stop scuffing your feet? And it was every single day this was hammered into us. And I now recognize, where I am older, and I find it agitating if somebody scuffs their shoes when they're walking in the street, or if somebody comes thudding down the stairs. It makes no difference. Thudding down the stairs doesn't hurt me. Thudding down the stairs doesn't create any physical hurt to my body, nor any emotional hurt if I think about it. Thudding down the stairs doesn't bring the universe crashing down around me. Thudding down the stairs doesn't mean I'm going to have a bad day. Doesn't mean that person is stupid or heavy-footed or an elephant. But that's what I was taught time and time again. I wasn't even taught that. That was something that I took in from my external around me. Do you see how this works? Do you see the intricacy of how this works? So anytime you guys are triggered, anytime you guys feel that slight angst and that irritation inside of you, take a minute to recognize, okay, what am I angsty about? What am I irritated by? What am I triggered by right now? First and foremost. And then try and find a way of linking it back to something that you were taught as you grew up, either directly to you, something that was taught to other people around you, or even just something that you've picked up from media, internet, social life, etc., right? It's going to give you like a much higher awareness of why you're operating this way in a situation. It's not technically anybody's fault, but technically it's also everybody's fault, including your own. It's contrast. It's nobody's fault, it's everybody's fault. There's a lot of stuff going on energetically and psychologically, okay? So we are not here to point blame at anyone. We are not here to point blame at anyone, but we are here to learn how to take our responsibility in the situation, which is, if I want to stop feeling so bad about that tiny little thing, and I'm just using a small example of somebody running down the stairs, we could be talking about grand scheme things like love and life and work and family and stuff like that. But if you can take a moment to get to grips with where it's coming from, you can begin to realize not only why you're having the reaction in the first place, even if it's just internally you're being triggered, but you can also begin to understand the different thought that you need to think, right? So if thinking right now that thudding down the stairs is intruding on my life and my day and in some way impacting me, what is the different thought that I need to think? And in this case, the different thought I need to think is, it's okay for somebody to come thudding down the stairs. Maybe they have to get to work really quickly. Maybe somebody is sick in the hospital and they're running downstairs because they need to get outside as quickly as possible. Maybe this person has bad joints or is not feeling very well today, and that's why they're thudding down the stairs. Just giving yourself that extra moment to think, what is the other thought or other thoughts that I could think that would make me feel better? You don't have to think of them, like you don't have to feel it straight away. Hell, you be pissed off and annoyed if you want to all of the time, okay? Like if you want, then that's fine. But as long as somewhere in your conscious mind you're going through this process, eventually over time, those thoughts become the default, right? With a lot of other work as well, those thoughts become the default. You're no longer defaulting to this programming from your subconscious, but you're defaulting to a new programming and a new understanding and a new thought. So let's talk about the filter, okay? So we've gone through the subconscious, it's been programmed, it's been told a bunch of things repetitively or in a very, very emotionally traumatic way, or overwhelming, let's call it emotionally overwhelming way, and the subconscious has taken note of it. It's then taken that information and is trying to keep you safe, either protecting you from it happening again or trying to notice when it does pop up or if it's going to pop up, etc. And then we've got that turns it into a default. So most of us are just waking up in our day straight in that pattern of something going wrong, straight into that pattern of needing to protect ourselves or preserve our, most of the time, ego nowadays, preserve our ego and things like that. And we're just living like it daily default. So what happens is this kind of default, most of us getting into it by our late teens, early 20s, this default is creating a filter, right? And a filter being an object, let's call it, that either allows something in or it doesn't allow something in, right? So my greatest analogy is going to be with sea turtles, okay? So when sea turtles are born, their shell is quite malleable, kind of like babies with their skulls and stuff. They don't have like a hard, tough shell like they do when they're older, right? That it hardens over time. Now, based on how the shell hardens, it acts as a filter, right? Now, if that baby turtle has had the experiences that it needs and the input that it needs and the nourishment that it needs, most of the time it's going to create a pretty strong shell that only filters through the good stuff. It's not going to let through anything bad. It's going to harden nice and tight around it, and it's going to be that level of protection around it. But then, if you have a baby turtle who has been left open to a certain emotional overwhelm, if you have this baby turtle that has been repeatedly neglected or not given the nourishment and nurturing that it needed, it's very likely that its filter is going to harden in a warped style, right? It's going to be warped. It's not going to provide that same level of protection as this one over here, who has been nurtured and nourished and given all of the healthy input, let's call it. So the filter decides what's allowed in versus what's not allowed in. Now I'm going to use myself as an example. Growing up, I was taught that in order for somebody to love you, you must be in service to them. To provide some kind of, I really want to just, service is the word. I'm trying to think of a better way of putting this, but it's like you must be sacrificing something of yourself, either your time, your energy, your money, your effort, your attention, even though you're wanting to be doing it somewhere else. This is distinctly what I was taught. Even though you may want to be putting it somewhere else, the ultimate act of showing that you love someone is to give up what you want and to give them what they want instead. And I'm sure on the surface of it, that sounds like a lovely thing. That sounds amazing. There's loads of religions and teachings and philosophies out there that we should be giving more, right? The only problem is how can you give from something that is already empty? Now, as a child, most of our cups are full all of the time. Most of us are fortunate enough to have our cups full, even if we don't live in the best of situations. When we're playing, we're hanging out with our friends, we're watching our favorite movies, we're just lost. We're absolutely, completely detached from the 3D world. We're lost in the zone, and that's all that exists. And that's us having our cup full, right? And then as we get older and these belief systems become in place, that filter starts to harden. Not only now are you stopping certain things from coming in, but certain things can't go out anymore either. Because I started to create a filter that said love is to serve somebody, I could not accept love in myself. So my cup just became depleted and until there's nothing left. And when there's nothing left, that's when you reach illness, that's when you reach depression, that's when you reach all of the other kinds of depths of the negativity of the human emotional spectrum. Because my filter was only allowing in the kind of love that required service, I was not allowing myself to be able to get the kind of love that was unconditional to fill up my cup in the first place, right? And then once your cup is full, I promise you, everyone's going to want to start giving and giving and giving and giving, because it's one of the greatest feelings when your cup is full, right? When it's overflowing, because then you're not giving from yourself, you're just giving from the overflow, right? That's what abundance of life is, you guys. Now, having a look at it from a different angle, what the filter also does is, the filter is a representation of what you believe is possible and not possible for yourself. Does that make sense? So again, using myself in the same example, my filter is got holes in it that only allow the kind of love that requires service through, which meant all other kinds of love, which is friendship love, platonic love, let's call it, even romantic love, even love like this, which is, I believe the term is parasocial. So I have a parasocial relationship with you guys, my community. I couldn't possibly know each and every one of you individually as much as we would want to, but we do have a relationship through the screen and stuff, right? And it's one of those things where it's recognizing that I was only letting through one kind of love because I only believed that was the love I could have. Because the belief system of love is service, or love is for you to be in service to someone else, coupled with the belief system I also had of you're too much, you talk too fast, you have too much energy, nobody can keep up with you. That's what I was taught. So nobody can keep up with you, coupled with love requires you to be in service. My entire belief system was then leading me towards the conclusion it's impossible for me to connect with anyone. It's impossible for me to find a community. It's impossible for me to be friends with anybody who didn't grow up with me and knows my entire life story. It's impossible for me to be able to go on the internet and for people to understand what I'm saying. It's impossible for me to find a romantic counterpart in this lifetime. It's impossible for me to... all of these impossibles, right? That's all I was saying the whole time, was just impossible, because my filter was only going to let through love through service. That was it. No other kinds of love, only love through service, right? Now it's taken a long time for me to unlearn and relearn. I had to break that entire filter down and rebuild it up from scratch and realize, actually, this isn't about my filter being made of what the rest of the world and my family and society has told me I should be allowing in. This filter is supposed to be made of what I want to be allowed in, right? Not what I was taught to be allowed in, but what I want to be allowed in. And of course, what I want to be allowed in is all kinds of love. Unconditional love, platonic, romantic, parasocial. Give me all of the loves, all of the different ways. I don't care, right? It's a spectrum and I want all of it, okay? So what the filter really can do is it can shift your perception. It can change it. It has such a massive impact on your perception. If at your core you are believing that you're not good enough, attractive enough, or you're not lovable or acceptable because you did something wrong, or you don't do it like that, you don't look like them, you don't have the same success or possessions as them, I'm not even going to talk, that's going to be a whole topic, right? If that is your core belief system, you are in your conscious mind going to believe that it's not possible for you to have a relationship like that one that you just seen on Instagram, which probably doesn't look like that 99% of the time. And sometimes it's not even that it's impossible. Most of the time what we're going to tell ourselves is that it's going to be harder for me. It's going to be harder for me to get it because I don't look like them. I don't have that. I haven't got blah, blah, blah. I'm not, etc., etc., etc. Which again is absolutely, totally ridiculous. You were not born to come to this life. You were not born to come into this life and do it the way everybody else has been doing it. Because I promise you, if you were, evolution would not be a thing. We would cease to exist because we'd have done it all. The point of your existence is to create new. That's what birth is. It's our entire reason to be, is to create more life. And we're starting to realize we don't just have to create life like that sense anymore. We can create art and knowledge, and we can learn from history and create a new future. We can create so many different things. It's not just about babies anymore, right? We're kind of way beyond that point and taking it a little bit too far sometimes. Do you know what I mean? So, an expansive belief system, a wide open filter that has been created based on curiosity and openness and using the terms I wonder. A filter that is not based in fear and lack and judgment is going to have so much more possibility. They're going to take better chances. They're going to take more risks. They're going to put themselves in more situations. They're going to say yes more. That person is going to be saying yes to way more situations just out of curiosity to see what's going to happen if they do. Versus a highly filtered person who believes all of the restricting, limiting things that you could possibly believe, which is most of us, let's be honest, who is not going to put themselves in that position. No, I'm probably not going to go and do that. No, I couldn't if I wanted to. No, I probably shouldn't because I can't do it like everyone else. And blah, 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 blah. Expansive beliefs create wide open perspectives. A limiting belief is going to create a restricted perspective. It's as simple as that, right? Now, your filter doesn't have to be one giant hole where you let absolutely everything through. That's not what this is about. Because obviously, what you're doing, yeah? Not just going to let anything and everything in. But it's about having a healthy filter. And most of you guys, you are going to have to break down the filter you've already got. It is not true that you're not enough. It's not true that you're not doing enough. It's not true that you're catching up. It is not true that you don't have it or you're not able to have it. Yeah? The moment that you base it on what externally other people are doing, having, saying, thinking, feeling, and what their freaking opinions are, you lose yourself. So, reprogramming, you guys, okay? This is where we ended the last video. I'm going to be ending this one here as well. Reprogramming is the key. It's the key to everything. If you imagined that your subconscious, your entire brain, your entire belief system, this filter I've been talking about, was made out of Lego, it is time to take a hammer and we're going to smash that Lego down into all of the tiny little pieces. We're going to examine every tiny little individual piece. Why is that blue piece there? I don't want to believe that I am ugly. So why is that blue piece there? And how can I put this back together in a different order so that that doesn't exist? That's not going to be my default anymore, right? Now, there's so much work, you guys. I did speak about it in the last video, but obviously one of the greatest ways is going to be doing this with a professional, somebody who knows what they're doing. If you're anything like me, it's not that I don't need a professional, but I just have such an immense curiosity and love for learning that I will just get on and do it myself anyway. If you have that, please, for goodness sake, harness it, use it, fall in love with that quality about yourself, because it's going to change your life. Most people on this planet, they do need somebody else to either encourage them or do it. This is what I'm here for. But if you have any shred inside of you of just, you know what, I just love exploring and having a go, please have a go with this, okay? But if not, or you feel like you need somebody else, then of course therapy is going to be a huge, massive help, okay? Just talking to somebody who's able to pull it all out of your system and help you untangle that ball of thread, or examine those Lego pieces. Yeah, I really like the Lego analogy. Now, you can also try things like hypnosis and stuff. Hypnosis is great for being able to shut down that conscious mind, sometimes the unconscious as well, and get into the subconscious mind. You know what I'm saying, right? Hypnosis is a great way of doing that. Now, meditation, to be fair, you know, this is sort of vaguely along the same lines. They have two totally different outcomes and different processes, but the point of both meditation and hypnosis is to get you to a point where you quieten your logical mind. So your logical mind cannot say to you, oh, this is ridiculous. Your logical mind's not in your face trying to make sense of what the subconscious is making it believe. So meditation is a great way of doing that, you guys. It's a great way of being able to shut it all down and just go into the body to just hear, right? The nothingness that is, right? Oh God, it's actually really satisfying, okay? And then we also have things like I've said about affirmations and subliminals. I'm going to do a whole video on that because I do feel like there is sort of a certain specific way that is very helpful of using both subliminals and affirmations. Affirmations are positive statements. I am, I can, I will, I have. And they just positively affirm to you those things that you wish you had in your life, or those ways that you wish you believed. And now, I said in the last video, affirmations are a little bit tricky, because I do feel like if you go in head first with affirmations, it's not really going to make much of a difference. What you want to do is attack subliminally, which is subliminal affirmations, or even subliminal messages and pictures up around your home and things like that. Vision boards are great for that, where you are skipping over the conscious mind, right? You're just going about your day. You're not noticing. You know that you've written the message on your mirror, or you know that behind the music that you're listening to, maybe your affirmations playing really quietly or something like that. You do know consciously, but you can't hear it and pay attention to it. You're just going to go and get on with the rest of your day. Your subconscious is going to take that in. 11,000 pieces of information a second, okay? The subconscious ain't even been worrying about not seeing it, so you don't need to worry about it, right? And I feel like that's the first step, that's the first place of attack, is the subconscious. And bring affirmations in as well, do conscious and subconscious at the same time if you want to, right? You're probably going to end up really tired, but that's okay, it's worth it, okay? You're allowed to be tired. You have spent your entire life fitting inside of a skin that you don't believe fits you. You're going to be tired. And you're allowed to be tired, okay? So I'm going to leave it there, you guys. I hope that was a bit of a better deep dive into the subconscious, why it is, what it is, and how it affects our manifestation process, creating those limiting thought beliefs, which creates the filter, and the filter decides what you let in and what you let out, and ultimately decides what you believe is possible for yourself or not. And it really is the first key to changing what you believe is possible for yourself, is to break that filter down. Take it to shreds. Who taught you that? What taught you that? And does it actually serve you? Because, yeah, I'm going to guess 99.99999% of the time, hell no, it's not serving you. So I'm going to leave it there, you guys. If you got anything from this video, as usual, you guys, hit the like and the subscribe and this notification bell and the blah, 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 and all of the other YouTubey ding-dongs, okay? Thank you so much, YouTube. Love you. I'll see you guys real soon. I love you so much.